m62, Nick Oulton, welcome.
Thank you.
Move that on. Talked a little bit about how this technology spans from smaller companies to very large companies. I'd call you a mid-sized business. My opinion...
I think we're a small business.
Huh? I call it, well, small, medium, to me, it's, no offense, it's harder to run a small business than it is to run a big business. You know, in many ways. You've got the same complexity, you've got the web, you don't have, you make a $10,000 mistake, it's a big deal, right? I mean, so
Correct.
this, you want your systems to be more efficient. You need the power of these guys in a company like yours, and that's sort of been the vision of NetSuite, is bring the power of large systems all the way down to deal with the complexity of running a small or mid-sized business. So really excited to have you up on the panel today. Maybe you can, I was the only guy in the room that didn't know what the M62 was, so I'll admit that, but maybe you can talk about your company and how the name came about and all those things.
Yep, so we're presentation consultants, effectively. We help people stand up and deliver presentations to audiences like you. Most of what we do is sales presentations. We don't do conferences. We do them, but don't do them very often. Mostly we help people go and sell their products and services in the marketplace. Siemens are one of our biggest clients globally, and that's what we do. We help people stand up and sell their products. I guess they falls into two categories, really. We call them either generic or specific presentations. So generic presentations are when you're going to take your products and services and you're going to take those out to the market and have conversations about why people would buy those products off you. And you're going to use those presentations over and over again. It's your corporate spiel. It's this is who we are, what we do, why people deal with us. They're generic presentations, and some of those projects for us can be big. £250,000 kind of, you know, 200, 300, 400 slides in a big deck, and you know, a big training program to help people work out how to use them, and they get used, you know, by multiple people in multiple countries in multiple languages every single day. And then you go all the way down to the specific bid presentations where you know, HP are a big client and they're bidding to you know, outsource data centers for Aviva, and then we will come in and help manage that bid process and deliver a presentation at the end of it. And those presentations get seen once at the best and final, and then they get thrown away, and fortunately they have to come back and buy a new one off us each time. So that means that our project management world is very complex. We have large, big projects that involve multiple stakeholders. I mean, I only have 32 in my team, but we're running a project with Zurich at the moment where we're engaged with probably 50 of their people in different countries all over the world, and we have to get information from them in order to compile the presentations.
Well, it was interesting talking to you before, because the NetSuite OpenAir solution is a broad solution: time and billing, project management, resource management, project accounting. You were interested, you know, your number one thing, resource management. You were looking at how to manage all these resources. You were really driven by global visibility and bringing a global organization. Interesting about you is your driver to get to NetSuite wasn't about managing resources, it was about managing projects. So it's interesting you can enter this suite in any sort of pain point, but get a lot of benefits. So maybe you can talk a little bit about, you know, why your project management is so complex and how OpenAir helps you manage that complexity.
Okay, so we put 6, 7 years ago, we decided everything we would have in the business would be on demand. So we don't have any applications at all. The only thing we do in-house is a bit of file serving, and even that's backed up through the cloud somewhere else. So we use, we start off with our Exchange, that's out, then we use Salesforce, that's out, our accounting system was out, and we needed a project management system out. We used we found a SaaS application from a company in the UK about 5, 6 years ago, and we had it out in the cloud. The problem we had is, because of the nature of our business, so literally an hour before we started here, I had a phone call from CEO of a big client who wants to give a presentation on Tuesday, and it's Thursday, and I'll get the basic information tomorrow. I'll work on it over the weekend, and then my team are going to have to design the slides and execute it on Monday, and then somebody's going to have to be in his office on Tuesday in order to run him through it. All those people that are involved in the process, and there's probably 7 or 8, are all booked to do other stuff between now and then, and so somebody in my organisation has got to replan everybody's time and everybody's resource as soon as I let them know when we get out of here for Monday. And by the time we get to Monday, there's a good chance somebody else has come in with an urgent request, and we'll be dropping that. And we promise to deliver to clients presentations turned around in 48 hours, and we have to be able to execute that. I'm quite proud of the fact that we've never let a client down with it, but that does mean when we had this other system, we would replan the bill of work, everything that everybody was doing, 3 or 4 times a day, and their data center kept falling down because what we're doing is very complex. Multiple people, multiple tasks. Every presentation has maybe 150 different individual tasks in it, and if they all slip out, that causes mayhem. So we needed to move to a system that could cope with replanning each time. And that's partly about the software, but it's also partly about the data infrastructure you've got behind it, and how good are your data centers and how reliable are they and how big's the bandwidth and all that kind of stuff. Yep. But it's also about the way tasks and resources were managed in the software. So we went out looking for something that would allow us to move the resources round but still keep visibility of the projects that the tasks are implemented in. So typically on the old system we would take somebody off a job to put them on something else, and nobody would know that the stuff that he was supposed to do on Monday now isn't going to get done, and therefore the delivery date to the client, which is in 2 days' time, isn't going to happen because nobody's doing that task. And the systems don't often take that task, because it can't be done by you, and put it onto somebody else who can do it in order to keep the project deadline. And now with OpenAir, we get not only almost real-time visibility about what's been done, but we can plan and map what the impact of that change is going to be going forward. And so now my delivery manager can sit and make decisions about, well, if we take this piece of work on, what's going to be the cost of that at the end of the month if something slips out, or if we have to go back to a client and miss a deadline. And obviously some of the work we have doesn't have deadlines, because if we're doing your corporate presentation and we get it to you this week, great. If it's next week, you're not bothered. But if it was a presentation for an event that's happening today, you can't afford for it to be an hour late. And so to prioritize all those and manage it and be able to reorganize that 3-4 times a day needs those two things: a really robust software package and an organization behind it that can support it.
And so in terms of very complex project management that's been resolved, in terms of managing the business, always when you deploy software to automate things, you hope it makes things more efficient, that you can do more with fewer people. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the growth of the business and the company.
The decision to put everything on demand was because the limiting factor to our growth is our ability to produce the work. It's not our ability to sell it. This can sound very arrogant, but nobody ever sits and looks at what we do and then wants to go out to the marketplace with their homebrew presentation. That's what most people do now. They make their own stuff. And when they see it done professionally and they see it done right, that nobody ever doesn't want to use us. So we can pretty much grow from a sales point of view as fast as we like. The problem becomes how do in delivering and executing it. And I've got a pool of very talented people who have talents that aren't in huge supply. And I don't really understand why everybody doesn't want to come and live in Liverpool, but for some reason they quite like where they live. And so I've got staff all over the world. We're probably the smallest global business you'll ever come across. I've got people in Asia who live and work in Asia. I actually have a serviced office in Asia because sometimes they like to go in, but I don't think they ever do. Same for New York. At any one time we've got 7 or 8 people floating around over in the States, a couple of people who live there. And of our 32 staff, there's only 17 that ever come into the office on a regular basis in Liverpool. Everybody else works from home. Well, that means I can go find people who can help write sales presentations or help coach people, and they can work for me wherever they happen to be. Last night, midnight, I had a phone call to write a presentation for a guy who's based in the States, and I was doing it with one of my team who lives in Singapore. And we had a conference call, and as far as they're concerned, we could be in Philadelphia next door to him. Doesn't matter.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, that's exactly. I mean, these internet-based systems enable you to behave just like the world's largest companies, find the resources in the right place,
and enables me to grow the business now as fast as I can. And we've done it. We put OpenAir in 2 years ago. We were turning over 1.3, 1.4 million sterling. This year we'll do 3 million. We had 28 staff when we were doing it then. We've got 32 staff now. They're not, it's not just an additional 4. We've changed some people as well, but we've doubled our revenue, and I think we could fairly put that down to the fact that we're in control of the business and understand what resourcing we need, and
Well,
you
doubling
can manage
revenue
it.
without doubling staff in a services business is all good. That's, you know,
Yeah.
that's a good thing.